The 2-1. Lindor towards right center field. This one is back. It is gone! Grand slam! And Lindor puts the Mets on top. The biggest swing of the season for New York.
3-second differential. Shot clock, game clock. Shot clock down to 5. Here's Towns from 3. It's gone! Karl Anthony Towns with the dagger. 3-point field goal.
Knicks regain their composure. Towns, deep 3-ball with the switch.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome to another Bunk Sports Live, and you know what it is. Boy, David, and I got a special guest with me. Y'all know who he is. I don't gotta do no introduction. I got Hector from Bunk Sports. What up, Papa? How you doing?
Good, man. How are you, brother?
Chilling, bro. Chilling. Wanted to have you on here. Obviously, you were at Amazin today. Obviously, you had a couple videos out there and a couple lives kind of talking about the offseason, kind of giving your opinions on situations with Pete Alonso and everything going on. So I was like, yo, let me chat with my guy on these platforms. It's to get another opinion out here. But I'll start it off right away. We were both at Amazing Day, but you got there early. You got there at the early slot. I got there at the 4:30 slot. Again, shout out to the Keith for that ticket, man. Follow brother Keith. But you were obviously around the fiasco of Steve Cohen shit, and what happened when he said the comment that he made about Pete Alonso. Yo, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, on the Pete Alonso situation or that situation is funny because I had
the situation first, and then you could talk. We go straight into the Pete Alonso shit.
Say it again.
You could go straight into Cohen's comment, and then we could go right into the Pete Alonso shit.
No doubt. I thought you wanted to ease into it. Maybe we're gonna talk some Amazing Day stuff first or the light stuff, but no, you want to go right to the goody stuff. No problem, but I got you. No, it's funny, man. I actually walked into the room right as David Stern said, we have the young guys that we're looking forward to, and people started grumbling already because we made this big deal about David Stern's got booed. Honestly, I just walked in there. I couldn't tell you if he got booed or not. I did hear grumbling. And like, come on. Like, that's more what it was. Like, come on with this young guy stuff. Like, we got somebody here that we can sign. Let's do it, But I thought it was interesting. I appreciated Steve Cohen's honesty. Honestly, I really did. You don't see that much. I came away with the impression, like, you know what? And I already felt like this. This is really on Pete. It's time for Pete to take control of the situation. They're ready to walk away if that's what it needs to happen. Listen, yeah, like you said, I've been commenting about Pete and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I do recognize they have a team to build. And if you're not getting nowhere in these negotiations, then yeah, you got to move on. Now, I didn't like the whole it's becoming difficult financially to put this team together. Like, I don't want to hear that from Steve Cohen. I'm sorry. I understand it. I really do, because I've always said that. He's not going to throw money around. I want to spend good money. I don't want to just want to spend bad money. So I get it, but I don't really want to hear it. Right. I don't want to hear you crying to me about spending money. Come on. All we've heard about is how this guy is a billionaire. He's a philanthropist. He's just here to make Mets fans happy. This is just So I don't need to hear that from him. And the other thing is, before I shut up, is when he says we've made a substantial offer. I forget if that's exactly the word, but we made a big offer, a good offer, whatever. Of course, they're not going to tell us this, but I'd like to know what that offer is. Are you still talking about, as the owner, the same 7 for $158 that fans won't let go? Because that was Billy Epler. And you yourself, Steve Cohen, have said it is Pete Alonso's right to turn that down. Now, he bet on himself. He screwed up. That's a different conversation. You know what I'm saying? But I just like to know, because I just don't know the substantial offer that David Stearns has made. Right. And I understand the whole market thing, whatever. You want to tell me, well, hey, Hector, 3 for $80 is more than fair. Okay, no problem. But not to me. Anyways,
does him coming out like that, like with Steve Cohen per se, does that him coming out kind of like take you by surprise by him kind of saying that so nonchalant on an event like that? Because that, it was just a regular panel, regular Q&A, and when they asked him about it, he flat out, he didn't give a corporate answer. He gave an answer from his heart. He went out there and was like, "Listen, I'm tired." Like, he didn't really say it like this, but I'm paraphrasing. Tired of the bullshit. This shit's stressful as fuck. I don't like where this shit is going. Like, were you surprised by that type of answer, or were you like, you know what? That's how Cohen is. Like,
I think that's more where I was. Like, surprised overall that just the owner is that candid or whatever. But
right.
I think we've seen that from Steve Cohen.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've seen that from Steve Cohen before, where he's really straightforward. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't too surprised by it. I could say maybe in the situation or the gathering that had happened. In my bad, man. I just realized I had this volume mad loud on this TV. Maybe in that setting, I guess, but at the same time, no, that's the setting because that's what was going on. So no, not really.
Okay. So when it comes to Pete Alonso, obviously everybody's noticed that 3 deals that the Mets have offered him, obviously 2 from this regime and 1 from the regime of Billy Epler, which was the 150 plus deal that they first offered him. He obviously said no to it. With the article coming out from John Heyman today about how Francisco Lindor went and basically said, I would prefer Pete back. Do you think that they automatically come to a deal and he just tells like Scott Boras, like, listen, we got to figure something out? Or do you think they're on some like, I'm staying pat and I want what I truly deserve? Like, where do you think that outcome comes now that it came out that Francisco Lindor has reached and said, yo, I want him back?
Yeah, listen, man. I think if Pete hasn't woken up right now and realized that he needs to maybe give in a little, then it's never gonna happen. Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate that. Pete needs to take control. Pete needed to take control a long time ago, and probably should have done this a while ago. He needs to have a conversation, maybe directly with Steve Cohen. I don't know if that's practice or not, but we hear that it happens. We know it happened with Aaron Judge and Hal Steinbrenner when, we got the report that Arson Judge and the San Francisco Giants agreed to a contract. You know what I'm saying? That's what made that conversation happen. But no, man, Pete needs to wake up, needs to take control. The way I see it, this can't go on much longer.
Right.
I just can't. You have to build a team. As much as I want Pete back, as much as I've said, David Stern doesn't want Pete. David Stern only wants Pete as a stopgap, as a placeholder and all that good stuff. The reality is they have to build a team. You have to build a team. You have to know which way you're going. Are you going to have to make a trade? Are you really going to go within and with these young guys and see how that works out? What the hell are we going to do? So they need a resolution to the situation sooner rather than later. So, and I would hope that Pete himself wants resolution to the situation.
So let me ask you right now, if it comes out that Pete Alonso signs with the Blue Jays, or matter of fact, fuck it, because the Blue Jays are the number 1 team that everybody probably thinks he might be going to if he signs elsewhere. If he goes to the Los Angeles Angels,
I was just watching John Heyman a little while ago. He tried to make the Reds a destination and said himself, I'm throwing that out there. There's been no community.
So all right. So John Heyman,
I'm a John Heyman guy, but like this is where you get in trouble, John. But anyways, go ahead.
Okay. So
throw the Reds in there. Throw the Reds in there.
You know what? To I won't say gaslight, but to add to that, if he was to sign with Cincinnati right now, if you're David Stearns and you're Steve Cohen, what's your pivot in terms of first base, and what do you think? Like, what's their next move if Pete Alonso ends up signing elsewhere?
Man, that's a good question. From everything you hear from them, they're gonna go within, right? They might go within. I know a lot of people are thinking trade.
I'm gonna tell you what I think, and after you're done, because I've gotten a couple top. Nah, I don't think they should. So go ahead.
No, what I think they should do and what I think they're gonna do might be two different things.
Okay.
Listen, I don't think you could go into the season with the lineup the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. Could Brett Beatty maybe figure something out and kind of offset a little bit of what Pete does? Maybe better situational hitting. I guess it's possible. Can Acuna be close to what he showed last year in 2 weeks, which we got very excited about? But the truth is, it's a very small sample size. Who the hell knows? It could happen, but I don't feel comfortable with that option.
Right.
Of trying to find whether it be Beatty, Mauricio, Acuna, and I'm high on all these guys except for Beatty because I've already seen some of Beatty, and I haven't liked what I've heard from Beatty.
Right.
When you tell me you have problems focusing and stuff like that's tough for me,
Right.
especially in New York. You know what I'm saying? Like that's tough for me because we don't let up. So are you going to be able to ever? And it happens. So yeah, listen. I'm not going to try to go get Yandy Diaz. Go. I don't want Spencer Torkelson. I understand when people talk about the upside and this and that. Like,
see, this is where you and me about to go head to head because that's where my thing of this is why the Spencer Torkelson for me, and I don't want nobody diminishing my Mets fandom card because of this. Reason why I would be interested in the Spencer Torkelson move if they decide to go that route, if Pete's not here no more, is because this kid is young and he still has upside. Now I got it. He's not a big time hitter. He has struggled within his time in the majors, but maybe a change of scenery. And I know going from Detroit to New York is worse, but maybe him being in a change of scenery, defensively, he's not bad. So you add those two things together, and like I said, he's still young. He's only 24. I will take my chances building him up instead of bringing in somebody or moving a kid like Vientos, where he's not bad at first base, but he's built his time as a third baseman. Where now that I have him at first base, I got to go ahead and put Brett Beatty at third base, and we already have questions not only about his defense, but about him as a hitter. I don't want to start this year doing that. I really don't. And then I got people telling me if Ronnie's not ready, then you talk about I've said this on multiple occasions. If you could possibly put Acuna at third base, I've been told no, you can't.
Well, I've always thought that Acuna was more of a third baseman than a second baseman, so I don't have a problem with that. I just wonder, is Acuna going to be healthy? That's what I wonder. I
don't either. This is why before the Torkelson stuff came out, I had said maybe you put Acuna in there. But I've been told that Acuna doesn't really play. He's not a third baseman. He doesn't play third. So my thing is, your next option would be putting Jeff McNeil at third. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants
Jeff McNeil on the team.
No, my point.
Maybe besides me. Not that I want him. I don't mind him on the team. I do understand that it might be time to move on from him. But
right. So my best option is if Pete's not here, and if they do decide not to go in-house, Spencer Torkelson, who's still young, is your best option right now. But I understand why people don't want that because of his numbers. I get it. He strikes out.
And I get the argument. And it falls in line with what David Stearns wants to do, team control, all that good stuff. So I get the argument. And, he is young. What is this, his fifth year? He's someone that when he first came up, some of you Met fans, I'm not saying you per se, but in the spaces and stuff would drive me crazy with this Spencer Torkelson dude. Like this guy was like the next coming of I don't know what, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So then when I see the fall off, and I haven't really looked too much into last season and why he played as little as he did. I don't know if it was injury, if it was lack of production, because I've heard people say that he got sent down, that I've heard, he was hurt. Was he hurt in 2023 when he really didn't do too well? No, 2023 is his best year, I think, right? I think he had 34 home runs in 2023. That's what everybody goes back to.
Yes. But
ignores what happened in 24. But the upside is there. Like, I can't really argue it. I guess it's just like, dude, we were just in the NLCS. Now, was there some luck involved in that? Yeah, probably. But we were there, and I want to capitalize on that. I really do. I want to capitalize on that. And with Pete Alonso, although I have a flawed player,
Right.
I'll be the first to say it. I know what I'm getting.
Right.
I know what I'm getting, and I'm of the belief I don't have anything to prove it, but I'm of the belief that I think that Pete Alonso, with a contract a little bit more relaxed, in the lineup with Juan Soto, because we make a big deal. Oh my God, Pete Alonso in this lineup, and the only difference is really Juan Soto,
Right.
but it's a big difference, right? And maybe that'll take some pressure off of Pete. Maybe he'll learn a little bit from Soto how to be a little bit better of a situational hitter,
Right.
and just being more patient. I think Pete could have a good year. I really do. And I think Pete could be a part of us getting to the mountaintop. I do. Now, is that the only way? Am I telling you that we can't win without Pete? No, that's not what I'm saying. Because some people take it that way. Like, oh, no, I'm not saying we can't win without Pete. Not saying that at all. I just think that he could be part of winning. And he's there. He's there. And then there is the little bit of emotional thing. Like, he's ours. I'm one of those fans. I like guys staying with their team if possible. Especially when it's a good player. He's a good player. Right. And you could get into the history and the home run record and all that stuff, which I don't know. I'm a little mixed in that stuff. Like, it's great after the fact. Like, I'm not focused on that per se right now, but I do recognize it, that he's right there.
Yeah.
So why pull the plug on that,
Yeah. No,
he's not terrible, Top. Like, when I hear people about his body, I was having this conversation earlier. Oh, he's gonna age poorly. Like, besides just the cliche of saying that, like, I don't know if that's the right way to this, but like, you say that just because he's the age that he's in, and he's not like Mr. USA body type, but it's not like he's fat per se.
Right.
He's just a chunky dude, whatever. But he plays every day, so I don't get where people get this breaking down stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna talk about breaking down, maybe we talk about his stats. Yeah, but that's about it.
Yeah, that's it.
He hasn't. I've said this on multiple times in Queens baseball space. Shout out to my dudes at Queens baseball. The only time he's had, and I would say a successful season, is I would say his rookie year when he hit 53 and he broke the record. And then in 2022, if you pay attention to his numbers in 2022, it was not only about home runs.
No.
RBI numbers were high. His numbers in doubles were high. It was him about abusing the gap on the left side of the field and making contact. When Alonso was doing that consistently, he finished the season at a 262, 270 average. Like that, like we don't see it. We're not seeing that Pete Alonso. That's my thing when it comes to Pete. Then you have the seasons that he had in 2023. Then he struggles in 2024 before the playoffs come. Obviously, everybody wants to talk about the home runs he hit in the wild card, the home runs that he hit in the NLDS and the NLCS. That's fine with me. But at the end of the day, we can't just look at playoffs. I'm not gonna skip the regular season and be like, yeah, well, let's look at his playoff numbers. That doesn't object him to get a $200 million contract that he's so-called looking for. It doesn't. So when people are out here talking about, David Stearns and Steve Cohen can give Juan Soto 756, 765, but they can't give Pete Alonso the money that he wants because there's levels to this shit. That's the main objective of everything else. There's levels to it. Juan Soto, when it matters, he performs in the season and in the playoffs. Pete Alonso is not that guy. I'm sorry. Hector, I don't know how you feel about that comment, but it's just that's how I look at it.
No, and I think that could be looked a lot of ways, right? You have across town someone in Aaron Judge who has these great seasons, and then his playoffs are not so hot. So, like, it's funny, right? Because I've had this conversation with some Yankee fans. Like, I'm sure not going into the year, they don't give a damn what Aaron Judge does throughout the year. You know what I'm saying? Right. I'm pretty sure we're going to hear a lot of times, who cares? Let me see him do it in the playoffs.
Right.
Who cares? Let me see him do it when it counts. Who cares? Let me see him do it when it counts. And then here you have someone like Pete Alonso.
It's the opposite.
Who struggled during the season and then stepped up in the biggest moment. So it's funny, right? Because I think a lot of last season too was him struggling with handling the situation, the pressure of the walk year and all that stuff, right?
Right.
But then at the same time, he was able to handle the biggest pressure situation where it's like this is elimination right here. Either we get it done or we're done. And
Right.
he stepped up. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, no, but you're right. That doesn't mean that you go out there and say, okay, now you can have that $200 million contract that we didn't want to give you before. Now, where I kind of like veer off some people is that I understand the whole market value thing and all that stuff, but if you really want the player, you believe in the player,
Mm-hmm.
then just go give him a fair deal. And I don't know what fair is to Pete. Again, I was listening to Heyman a little bit, and now he's saying it's about the money right now.
Right.
The deal is everything is in place. The holdup is the money now. Before we heard that the holdup might be the year. So my point is I don't know what Pete is looking for to say, okay, this is what I wanted. I've said a lot of times I watched at the end of the podcast, right? I'm pretty sure you know about that at the end of the podcast. And they talk to these older players, and you hear these guys talking sometimes about the contract negotiations and where they'll say, I forget who it was. There was one player, bro, and they were going back and forth with the team.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, yo, it came to the point where it wasn't even the money. And the money, I think it was like $100,000. But he was like, it became a matter of principle. And I just wanted the satisfaction of them, you know what I'm saying? So we were waiting until that point and we finally got it, and that was that. It could be something real simple. We mean, oh my God, they're arguing about the money. We're thinking about millions and millions of dollars when it could just be Pete, like, just get to this little bullshit number. Just
Right.
$50,000 more. And maybe them, you know what I'm saying? Or it could be, I just want 4 years. Okay, I can't get 8. I can't get 7. I just want 4 years or 5 years. You know what I mean?
Is if they do walk away because they can't come to an agreement, whether it's the years or the numbers, would you be surprised about that? Is that something that's going to
At this point, hell no.
Right.
At this point, I honestly, at this point, I'd be surprised if we do sign them.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's going to be the surprise. If we do get the announcement, oh, Pete Alonso and the Mets have come to an agreement of blah, 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 whatever the hell it is. That's going to be the surprise at this point. Because, yeah, I know the last couple of days, Pete's come back, whatever we want to believe that Pete's come back, left the Toronto deal on the table. Because he's really, really, after hearing the comments on Saturday, wants to be back. Who the hell knows that some of these guys called him like, yo, Pete, man, come on, we missed you. We need you back. The energy was great. Da-da-da-da-da. Who knows? Well, you mentioned Lindor, Nimmo, those guys spoke to ownership and but that wouldn't do anything to make Pete come back to the table. You know what I'm saying? So there's still hope, but I left Saturday feeling like, you know what, it's done.
Right.
When I left there on Saturday after that, those comments.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. You know what's funny? I was on my way when I saw that. And I kid you not, I'm sitting on the train and I just go like this. I'm like, and then I'm like, because I'm like, there's no, I mean, it was shocking to me that, first of all, the Pete chant wasn't shocking. Like when they started chanting P and sign P, it wasn't shocking because you had content creators that cover the Mets basically trying to enforce it. Like, yo, guys, when you guys get there, send them a message type shit. So when it happened, I wasn't shocked. But when he said what he said, I didn't expect them to say that at all. I thought it was going to be a corporate answer. Like, hey, we love Alonso here. If it gets done, it does. If it doesn't, then we're going to have to pivot. But he was talking about, yo, it's been frustrating. Like, it's when he said that, I was like, it's more about Boris than it is about Pete. Because this dude, Boris, is literally, he won't stop until his player gets what they deserve. And this is the first year that we've seen Scott Boras not complete that. And it's just unfortunate that the first guy that we've seen to go through that is Pete Alonso. But it doesn't also help that if you're David Stearns and you're Steve Cohen and Scott Boras is on some, yo, what are y'all doing? All they have to do is be like, listen, here's our proof. Yes, he's a good playoff hitter. But at the same time, there has been a lot of guys that have gotten us to where we are at, and he hasn't been around for most of that. He's been quiet. So at the end of the day, it's like, yes, we understand how important playing in the playoffs is and how big you do come up, but we also want a guy that's consistent in the regular season, because at any moment we could go into the playoffs next year with Juan Soto. Pete Alonso could be here, and we could be in the playoffs, and he could be ice cold. And then everybody's going to be like, well, not only did he struggle this year in the regular season, but now he's not playing well in this playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the same shit with Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge could suck next year and could continue to suck in the playoffs. Then Yankee fans are really going to have some shit to talk about. And I think that's something that they're trying to be like, all right, what are we going to get out of Alonso now as a 30-year-old? Because he's only going to get – he's in his prime right now. But what are we going to get out of him as a 30-year-old now if he's playing like this and he's only declining within his stats? I think that's where they're looking at it. I don't think it's like, oh, you don't deserve your money. I just think
I just don't know what they expect the decline to be. Like, is Pete Alonso now going to go to next season hitting under 30 home runs and continuously do that? I guess it could.
Baseball's weird. He finished the year, what, with 37?
34.
34. He might only hit 33. He might only hit 30. You never know. And knock on wood, because we don't wish.
Yeah, but we're pissing on that, like, oh, only 33, only 30. But that's because the guy hit 52 home runs.
Right. So you're expecting
he hit 47 home runs. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is insane.
Right.
And that's a pace that who the hell keeps up that pace? Him and Aaron Judge?
The only two to basically do it.
You know what I mean? So we're talking 30 plus home runs is nothing. I just need Pete to, like we said, be a better situational hitter.
Right.
And I do think it's a little bit unfair when we talk about, oh, Pete wasn't getting it done while everybody else was getting it done. Listen, they all weren't getting it done. They all didn't get it done in 2023. They all didn't get it done at the end of 2022.
Right.
You know, I know people want to take out a player here, a player there. They all went through their times where they did well, did a little bit of a carrying. Listen, you and I were at a game. What was that game that we were sitting up in the upper deck? Wasn't that one of the games that Pete had a walk off?
Yes, that was actually the Tampa Bay game in 2023 where he
Tampa Bay Alvarez hit the home run.
He walked it off.
But Pete hit the walk off.
Remember, we were down like 5-0, and I think Francisco Alvarez hit a bomb to start it off. Vientos tied it when we scored 3 more runs. Remember that Gary Cohen kind of misjudged it, and then that's when we tied it 5-5 after that home run, and then Alonso walked it off. So yeah, we were there. We were there.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if that was this shirt, but we have this shirt when he hit the walk-off home run and threw the helmet. You know what I'm saying? Shot the helmet up. That was the afternoon game, if I'm not mistaken. So that wasn't this game. The game, the Tampa game was at night.
Cardinals game, if I'm not mistaken, where he hit it off Herrera. Not him. Gallegos, where he won the
Right. So Pete has been clutch, bro. Pete has been clutch. Pete has done situational hitting. It's just that I think as they had some failures overall as a team, and then he himself, he just kept putting more and more pressure on himself to be that guy, to get it done. I think Pete by nature just wants to be there for everybody. We see what he does, you know, with his home run derby check, which people want to kill him now. Leave it alone, Hector. Leave it alone. No, because people want to kill him now. Like, oh, he took a spot from Lindor. Like, he didn't take shit. You know, did he say, I'm only going to do the home run derby if I go to the All-Star game?
See, that was corny to me. I'm going to tell you why. Because, my brother, at the end of the day, if your numbers don't show that you're an All-Star, that is all right, cool. That's cool. I understand. Like,
here's my thing though, Top. I think people
are also you should have just did the home run derby anyways, bro. Like, there's a reason.
I don't think
elected.
I think what the misunderstanding is that Pete said you have to give me the home run derby for me. No, he said I don't. This is how I see it, and he's not the only one.
Right.
There's plenty of guys that say, I'll do that. If I make it to the game, I'll do the derby. I'm not just gonna go out there for the derby.
Right.
You know, especially if you've done it a couple of times or whatever. Like, nah, I'd rather stay home and take the break than to go out there just for the derby.
Right.
Now, if I make the All-Star game, I'll do the derby.
Since I'm there.
Since I'm there. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's just what it was. Pete, we'd like to have you at the All-Star, at the home run derby this year. You know what? This year, if I make the team, I'll do it. I'm not going to commit right now. If I make the team, I'll do it. You guys have me. If I don't make the team, I don't think I'll do it. Is that an ultimatum?
Right.
Is that telling them, yo, you have to put me on? No. Now that MLB chose to put Pete in the All-Star game because they want Pete doing the derby, because they want to be able to market it. That's MLB's choice.
Right.
That's not Pete Alonso taking a spot saying, no, leave these guys off the team because I need to be on. And then if you're upset as a fan that Francisco Lindor, that Brandon Nimmo, whoever else didn't make it, be upset at yourself for not voting enough.
Not voting. Right. I mean, trust me. I think the frustrating part about Alonso and Nimmo not being in there is that I know a lot of Mets fans that we know voted. So you're sitting there like, yo, ain't no way these two motherfuckers didn't make it in. You know what I'm saying? But there's so many people that are like, well, if Lindor didn't start cold in April and May,
I think that's true though.
And it's like you can't really like exclude that. Like you gotta put that in. But
that counts. I think that counts. You know what I'm saying? And there's so many different ways to get into the All-Star game too, right? Don't players vote? Coaches vote?
Right.
It's like 3 different votes now.
Right.
And these guys didn't make it through none of those.
It's frustrating because they had.
And the main reason why is because we stunk as a team.
For those first.
How are you gonna be picking All-Stars from this team that?
Right. Yeah. Listen, I hope Lindor gets it. I think he's deserved it. That brother for what he's done. It's crazy to me how he still hasn't been an All-Star as a Met.
And listen, for me, last season, Brandon Nimmo carried this team early on.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was All-Star worthy.
I thought so too.
You know what I'm saying?
I said it. He's gotten robbed twice because I think he deserved it last year too. In 2023 at one point.
But for whatever reason, not baseball fans, they just don't want to recognize Mets players for whatever reason.
It's one of those quirks.
Yeah. I don't even know how we got on that tangent, but that just bothers me when I see, Pete Alonso he's not a team guy. He took the All-Star from Francisco Lindor. Like,
I think he's
like, give me a fucking break, bro. You just hate Pete Alonso, and that's that.
For Francisco Lindor to come out and basically say, yo, I want Pete back. It just shows the chemistry. It shows the relationship.
No, but some people will tell us that piece of cancer, that they don't get along. I see him and Lindor, like the way they interact. Nothing tells me those guys don't get along. If anything, quite the opposite.
Yeah, that's just a bunch of bullshit people try to put out there. They want to, you know what they want to see? They want to see another Lindor and McNeil part 2. Except they want it with Lindor and Alonso. That's what they want because they fed off of that shit when the Lindor and McNeil shit came out. They were like, oh shit. They were like, wait a minute. Why you think they were so mad that he still didn't give him his car yet? So we had all the other things to talk about in Mets land, but where's his car? Where's his car? Who gives a fuck? Like, yo, it doesn't matter about. Car.
Listen, when there's something there, though, it's like, yo, and you still, it's like we gotta be honest, though, man. We were all saying there's something wrong with this core. We may need, or a lot of us. I shouldn't say we were all, but in the spaces, us content creators, I was saying that, like, yo, this core doesn't seem to be, you know what I'm saying? It's not, it doesn't know how to win. They keep telling me about they're working hard, but I don't know if they know how to work. You know what I mean?
Remember, a lot of us were asking that until Tommy Pham came up and said what he said.
Yeah, and then Tommy Pham highlighted some of it, and it was like, oh no, people try to blame. So I think it was everybody.
Right.
I think it was everybody because there's things that all of these guys have said that it makes me like, damn.
Right.
You guys gotta be better, you know. So when Tommy Pham said that, I didn't. Oh, it's McNeil. Oh, it's this. No, it's all of them as a team.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And maybe you need to change the way you work, your practices. And listen, people can ignore it, but if you listen to these guys, if you listen to a Francisco Lindor, then you can tell there was a change where they said, you know what? we got to change the way we do things. We got to be more accountable with each other. You know, we got to have that comfortability, that trust where I can go and tell you, yo, top, you got to do this better, bud.
There's
You
a
got to
lot of
do
that
that.
fall on Buck at that time. Like, does Buck? You think Buck played a major role in that, in terms of not having the locker room together, kind of losing the chemistry and stuff that he would say in the post game conferences? Like, would you? Because there were a lot of us that we took certain things that he said and were like, "Nah, that sounds kind of off." Like, do you think Buck played a major role in that?
I don't know, because I think Buck played a major role in Francisco Lindor growing and kind of like learning how to handle New York.
Okay.
I think, because I think we saw that from Lindor on the Buck, where he got a little bit better
Right.
in dealing with the things of New York and dealing with the fans and how we are. Like, let's not forget about the thumbs down. You know what I'm saying? That's him not being able to deal with the criticism.
Right.
It's fair. It's okay. I struggle with that sometimes,
Mm.
all the time. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and this guy's getting it at a much higher scale, so it's okay. That's fine. So I think Buck had a lot to do with that, but maybe you're right. Maybe Buck didn't know how to handle the situation once it happened between McNeil and Alonso. Really, I mean McNeil and Lindor and stuff like that. But I think Buck helped Lindor in that sense, and then obviously my guy Mendy just enhanced all of that. You know what I'm saying? He just bring the right temperament to everything and empowered these guys. And then my guy Candelita. I think Candelita was huge.
Yeah.
I think
Big time.
Candelita was huge and what went on here last year. And I also believe that Francisco Lindor finally said, you know what? It's time for me to step up. And maybe he was kind of leading before, but he himself was, kind of like walking on eggshells, don't want to step on any toes. Like he said it when he first got here, like I'm just trying to be a part of something. Do 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 do. So maybe, not maybe. I think definitely part of it too was Francisco Lindor growing within himself. Brandon Nimmo growing to be a leader, being comfortable and speaking out and being a leader and taking ownership of that. Because we know that about the meeting.
Right.
And how did the meeting take place? Francisco Lindor, and I think there's one thing that's important about the meeting too. That Francisco Lindor asked Adam Ottavino if he should hold the team meeting. Not because Adam Ottavino was the leader of the team, but because Ottavino's elder statesman in the league, right? So it's like, yo, do you think this is a good idea? Now in the future, Francisco Lindor doesn't need to ask anyone. He knows I can call this meeting now if I need to. You know what I'm saying? Like that was the moment when he finally did what he should have done a long time ago, and it's
Right.
take ownership of the team, take
Right.
ownership of the team, and be that leader. You know.
That's
So,
actually speaking on Amazing Day, but when we were on it, that's crazy that you were able to see Mendoza too. I was actually interested in, if I would have had the earlier ticket, that's probably one of the things I would have been looking forward to, because there's a lot of questions that I would ask Mendy within his second year as a manager coming up. How was that conversation like?
no, of course, no, and there wasn't really much conversation. You saw everything that there was pretty much in that little. I don't know if you saw the video that I posted. It was a quick encounter, and it was. Listen, I could not believe when I go there to introduce myself, and everybody knows I know Sal, so I went up there to say hi to Sal, whatever, and they happened to be doing that spot. So when I see Mendy, I'm like, oh great, introduce myself to Mendy, just say hi, and not even introduce myself to Mendy. I'll be honest with you, it's more like, yo, Mendy, I'm a big fan, whatever, when they call that introduction, whatever. So I go to say what's up. And he's like, oh, I know who you are. I'm like, the hell you don't? You don't know who I am. He's like, yes, I do. And then that's when you see the video starts right there where he's like, he's already said, Hector. And he's like, Hector, Washington Heights. And when he said that, bro, I'm like, nah, bro. get the fuck out of here. Like, you really know who I am.
Yeah.
And as Jonathan said, I chest slapped him like we was doing WWE out here. Afterwards, I'm like, what the hell did I just do, bro? I just hit the hell out of this dude.
He pays attention, man. I gotta give credit. I give credit to Mendy a lot of the times, and I think it's not only for what he's done in that clubhouse, but just bringing everybody together. And I've always said, when you have somebody that knows how to manage a game and he also brings that Latin presence, I think it speaks to what the energy and the vibe is around the team, because you got the Latin guys that we have, and then you got the white boys, and they're into that, like they're close to that. So with him doing what he's doing, what he's doing even now, and then having Iglesias come in with that veteran presence, and then just him being big with the song and just, you know, changing everything up. It's like you gotta, that Latin presence is very important to no matter what clubhouse you're in. And like, I mean, you even watching the Dominican League right now, you saw everything's different over there. Like I saw a tweet earlier that said, I hope nobody's watching that boring ass game in DR right now. And I was like, my brother, are you paying attention to how these games are being played? You're never going to see, the closest that you'll see that in Citi Field is Jose Siri. If Jose Siri ends up hitting a grand slam or it's a game-winning home run, that brother is, you know, they're gonna tell him to turn it down, because he goes crazy. He's a high energy player. You don't see that nowadays. Like, the energy over the way baseball is being played in DR, it's not being played here. I'm just being honest.
I also think it's a little unfair when fans say that, like, oh, because, right, that's a playoff game. Right. You can't tell me there's no energy here in the playoff
regular games too. If you watch it, I watch it all the time.
Yeah, it happens to a lower extent. They get a little crazy, but also too, that's the other thing I was gonna say is, it's so much of a shorter season, right? So that every game, like, really, really, really counts. You know what I'm saying? And then they get into that round robin. Like, I don't even really understand too much of this DR baseball. Like, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. They get the round robin where teams are taking players from other teams. Like, it's wild. It's wild. The whole thing is wild. It's a whole wild experience. Mm-hmm. And I think it lends to that kind of atmosphere. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think here, bro, like, think about it, man. Could you keep up that energy for 162 games if these guys were doing that and coming back to play the next day and the next day after that? Like, it's just
depending on the situation, though, because if you win a tight game on the first game, then the second game you win by walk-off, and that you show both those energies. If I mean, you're not gonna have close games every game.
But look.
It happened.
Look at when Vientos came up.
Time. Shout out to
right. Look at when Vientos came up and hit the walk-off and the way that he reacted and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys go nuts. They go nuts. It just maybe not as crazy where the guy that hits the ball is gonna shit, but Jesse Winker did it. Jesse Winker kind of did it. Jesse Winker,
what the hell?
He must have played winter ball at some point in his career.
I would love it. Yo, put him on Aguilar and watch him go deep. And I bet you
Tom, I don't know. We should look it up. Maybe he has played out there. You know, a lot of guys play out there when they're young, out there way up, and who the hell knows? But listen, he had some of that, so maybe we'll see that from the Mets this year. Well, we'll do some of those crazy things. Yo, Jonathan, appreciate you in the chat, man, with all the comments. Keep it coming, brother.
We got shout out to the 281 in here, man. Appreciate y'all taking the time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm in Washes, man. I got my guy Hector from Blunt Thoughts. I do gotta ask you though, Hec, because there's been a lot of speculation on the rotation and how not everybody's happy with the guys that we've added to the rotation, specifically with guys like, you know, Griffin Canning and Clay Holmes and Frankie Montas. Right now, you have Kodai Senga coming back. You have Sean Manaea. Shout out to you, obviously, because I think you provided the
yeah, right.
the spark for him to come back. You also have David Peterson. Then you have Frankie Montas. Then you have Clay Holmes, and then it could be a 6-man rotation depending on how they do things. What is your thoughts on the additions of the rotation? And then also, before you do give your thoughts on that, I do want to just show the bullpen options that has been laid out after our guy Ryan Stanek signed today. He signed for a $4.5 million contract on a 1 year. And I think now if you look at this bullpen, I don't think we've said it in a while, but bro, this shit is deep. Just look at this list, bro. It's crazy, especially with the Minter signing, right? Like now you have your setup man. Now you don't really have to always put Jose Budo and the Daniel Nunez in that 7th and 8th spot. Now you have a set of men in Minter. So what are your thoughts on the starting rotation with the new guys that we've added, and your thoughts on this bullpen so far?
All right, so I'm going to start with the bullpen because you have it up here. And the only thing I would say, I would even put Budo down in the swing options because I think, excuse me, and I said it on my post that I did earlier when I reacted to it, just a written post that I put up. I think now with the signing of Stanek, what I love is it makes us deeper, obviously, and it moves those guys down. It moves a guy like Reed Garrett down back to where early on in the season he was having success. Let's think about how Reed Garrett's season was. Who the hell knew Reed Garrett, right?
Right.
And he comes out early on, coming in the 6th, 7th inning, giving us 2, 3 innings, keeping us in the game. We come back and win the game. You know what I mean? Then it got to the 7th inning, but he was coming in early in the game, keeping us in games, giving us a chance to win. And because of injury and partially because of his success, he moved up a little bit, and then he started struggling a little bit. But this brings him back to where he had that success. I remember early on last year that it stood out to me, and then we saw it play out where he said people were asking him about, the success he was having and how does he adjust to that. And he said, I think it was to Steve Gubbs, like, listen, I don't even know. This is the most success I've had. This is the most I've pitched. Like, I'm still trying to figure it all out. And soon after that, he dealt with a little injury, and then he came back and he struggled a little bit. I was like, damn, there it was. He was telling us, like, yo, I'm trying to adjust to this. So I think it puts him back more in his comfort zone. Or like you said, brings a guy like Buto down. Now, Daniel Nunez, if this guy is straight, I want him up at the end of games. But, bro, to have Diaz, AJ Minter, Ryan Stanek, hopefully playoff Ryan Stanek, not the one that we got that was giving up bombs, but Ryan Stanek and a Daniel Nunez, to possibly go 7, 8, 9 with those 4 guys on most nights. Ooh,
and think about it, guys that could go multiple innings.
Right.
Sign
me up for that.
Can't get out the 4th inning. I'm already looking at a Jose Budo. I'm already looking at
a Reed Garrett.
At a Sean Reed Foley, who, again, if it wasn't
Sean Reed Foley's another guy I like, Top. I've always liked Sean Reed Foley. I don't like the way he acts outside the players lot, like a prick. But I like his production. He just can't stay healthy.
Right. That's what I was going to say.
I've seen him a couple of times outside the lot, and he's a jerk. He's a little bit of a jerk. No, but I'm a fan of yours, Ryan. I'm Sean. I really like his production on the field. It's funny because when I went to get the autographs, right, that people were telling, ask like, yo, who's where, and in one booth, like, oh, Sean Reed Foley. I was like, I'm not going to that jerk. I don't want your autograph there. You know what I'm saying? But nah, man. I really like what they've done with the bullpen. You could probably still add here and there. As far as the starting rotation, listen, it's funny, right? Because, and this also goes for the bullpen as well. People go crazy. Last offseason, I was extremely critical of David Stearns and how he was handling the bullpen and the arms that he was bringing in and all these projects and low risk, high reward. I got to give him the benefit of the doubt. I should have gave it to him last year, but he had to show me here. I don't give a damn what you did in Milwaukee. Milwaukee got you here. Your resume got you here. Right. Now, what are you going to do here, right? Well, he showed us that he finds guys that the people that he has in place are then able to work with to get something out of. So he's shown that. So I'm not, I give him the benefit of the doubt. Now, do we have to have reclamation projects for like 3/5 of our bullpen? Of our starting rotation? Kind of wish not. You know what I'm saying? So when you bring in like Frankie Montas, who I've loved everything I heard from the guy.
Right.
I've loved everything I heard from him. Right. And it's kind of the same thing even though Sevy and Sevy, I was a little bit high on. I felt like Sevy changes scenery and all this. But I loved what I heard from him also when he talked about the sleep taking care of the sleep habits and stuff, that the judgments that he had made. I was like, okay, we might get something out of Sevy, and we did. So I like what I've heard from Frankie Montas so far. Griffin Canning, I haven't even heard him speak yet. Clay Holmes, I liked what I heard from Clay Holmes, and I'm rooting for the guy. But I also have a hard time because I'm not gonna lie to you, Top. You'll hear me criticize certain things or give my opinion about certain things that I don't like. For example, the way the Pete Alonso situation has been handled, I think could be better, right? I've already expressed that. Mm-hmm. But I'm well in line with David Stearns when he says, yo, I don't really want to give Corbin Burns 7 years. I don't really want to give Max Fried 8 years. I don't like those deals, Top. I don't like those long-term deals.
Right.
Truth be told, I hate the Juan Soto contract. I really do.
Okay. Right.
I know he's 26. I can't stop thinking about he's not going to be 26 forever.
Right.
And how is that going to, you know what I'm saying? Like, now, I wouldn't mind having Juan Soto for 15 years, but do I got to give you 15 years straight up? I wish I didn't, but whatever. I'm in line with David Stearns.
Right.
When, he doesn't want to give long-term contracts to pitchers and stuff like that. At the same time, I think sometimes you could make an exception, right?
Right.
And that's where I kind of that's the last thing that he needs to show me is that he's able to get out of his comfort zone. That he knows now that he doesn't have a curfew anymore. Yo, Top, you don't got a curfew no more, buddy. David, you don't got a curfew. David, no me llame tanto, ya, coño. Yo te dije a ti que you could go out on your own. You know what I'm saying? You don't got to call me for every little thing.
Right.
That's what David Stearns needs to show me. That he can get away from being in Milwaukee and having those constraints. And now doesn't have him here. Where, I can make this deal. And if it doesn't work out, it's not going to derail me because I have the backing now that I can move on from that. I can give Pete Alonso 4 years where I wouldn't do it in Milwaukee because if I gave Pete Alonso 4 years, I'd be crippled if it didn't work out.
Right.
That is not necessarily the case here. Yeah, you're going to be responsible financially and all of that stuff. You're not going to give out super horrible contracts. But you have the room to be able to withstand if it doesn't work out. So it's the same thing with the pitcher. Like, I wouldn't have minded the Blake Snell deal.
Right. I mean, yeah, but shout out to my guy Jacob, by the way. Appreciate you for tuning in.
Yes, sir. What up, Jacob?
I think with Blake Snell, I did want him. I'm not shutting that down.
Because it was only 5 years, right? I think Blake Snell was 5 years.
No, it is 5 years. I just didn't think he would ever come to the East.
That's a different story. I'm just saying as a team, like, I wouldn't mind. But David Stearns will probably never entertain that, right? Because it's just the age, and I'm not getting. And it's like sometimes you got to do, and Steve Cohen has said this.
Right.
Sometimes you got to make an uncomfortable deal
to get what you want. I think
that's the situation. And is David Stearns really has he found that comfort zone yet? And maybe he's too quick to
that Soto situation is that uncomfortable deal. I'm gonna be real with you.
Patty. What's up, Patty?
Shout out to Patty. Thank you for joining, my love. Appreciate you. Shout out to Jonathan once again. Appreciate you keeping the chat active. Yeah, I think that uncomfortable deal is the Juan Soto situation, because I'm sure they didn't want to go ahead and below $765 million. I'm sure.
Yeah, but you know what, Top, though? I need to see David Stearns make that deal on his own. I'm telling you right now, David Stearns hates that deal as much as I do.
I don't think he ever will, though. That's my thing. I think.
No, not. I'm sorry. Let me correct myself.
I think you'd be biting your tongue on that one. I'm gonna be.
No. Let me, because that kind of deal, ownership is always gonna get involved. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But maybe like a Blake Snell type deal. Something along those lines where we know that he doesn't really is not in his MO.
Right.
But he'll do it because now I can do that. That's what I need to see. Yeah, that Juan Soto deal, obviously, it's it's the ownership is always going to get involved, and in this case, I think that was all ownership.
A junior swingman in the building. Appreciate you,
My
bro.
God, Junior, great to see Junior and his
Going
fam on Saturday.
my God, man. I mean, okay, so let me throw this to you. Would you have gone the 6 years with Corbin Burns, knowing that he's still up there in age a little bit, like he's in his 30s, and knowing the mindset that David Stearns has? Because that's the only reason I was okay with it. But now I'm starting to now I'm looking at it more from a perspective of now I kind of see why he took the route of getting a Clay Holmes, because you got to also understand this guy can work both ways, where if he doesn't continue as a starter, you put him in the bullpen and he's totally fine. Then on top of that, he's getting more leeway as a starter to add more pitches. There's a good chance Jeremy Hefner could be going in there on some, okay, now we can add more to your fastball. Now we can add more to your, we can add a slider. We can add you with a changeup. You don't always have to throw just sliders. You don't always have to add more to your sliders. We can add a fastball now that you're a start. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't have to be one pitch that he's always relying on, like he was doing as a reliever or more as a closer for the Yankees. So I look at it that way as a positive. The Griffin Canning situation, while people were going nuts about it, I wasn't, and I'm going to tell you why. The one thing that we clamored for the most when it came to us having conversations and going in Twitter spaces and all that, the one thing that we clamored for was inning eaters. Why can't guys consistently go either 5 or 6 or even 7 every game? He can do that. Yes, his number is not the best. I get it. I understand it. It's not special. But that's something that David Stearns is looking at. So when they sign a guy like Griffin Canning and everybody's like, yo, who the hell is this bum? This bum is an innings eater. Now, he's not going to have great nights every fucking night. I understand that, but he fills a purpose for something that we're missing. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I was indifferent to the whole Griffin Canning thing. You make a good argument for that. I'd be lying to you if I knew the ins and outs of Griffin Canning. Mm-hmm. I just know he was somebody in the Angels that was getting rocked. numbers wise, you know what I'm saying? Like, when you got a 4+ ERA, like, what the fuck are you doing out here? You getting rocked. Right. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Skills. Shout out to the homie Skills.
This, man. Being here, mama. Thank you.
So, but no, you're right. We do need guys that could go out there and just give you solid innings. Maybe a 4-run ball and give your offense a chance to win the game. Not every game you're gonna win because of the pitching. When you ask about Corbin Burns, what did he get? 6 years? 7 years?
6-year deal. I believe it was. Oh my god, I gotta look that. Matter of fact, you know what? I'm gonna look that up right now. I got you right now. While we're here,
no, I'm an idiot. I got it right in front of me.
Okay.
6 years, 210.
Yes. Would you have gone that route?
I wouldn't be opposed to it. Like, I wouldn't have got upset if we did. He's 30 years old. Take him to 36. I think he's been pretty durable, right? Throughout his career. Not sure. I haven't really looked into that, but yeah, I mean, the guy is starting 30 games almost every year. Mm-hmm. 28 in 2021. Other than that, he started 30 games. Yeah, I would have no problem. I would have had no problem giving him the 6 years.
I really wouldn't. You have gone the route that they have shown to go and probably get yourself maybe a Seth Lugo. Now that Seth Lugo has kind of shown with the Royals and with the Padres, I can be a starter like I wanted and I couldn't become a starter as a Met, but when I was there, like, do you go back to that and be like, yo, you know what? He's proven with the last 2 teams that he was with that he could be a consistent starter. Do you go that route? Or is that something like, nah?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Now, when we had him, I didn't think Lugo was much of a starter because every time we tried him back in there, he would start getting rocked. So I was like, whatever. Yeah. Stay in the bullpen and stop crying. Yeah. But then when he goes out there and has success, it's like, damn it, another guy that we didn't figure out. Right. That's why I looked at it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I wouldn't have a problem bringing him back and see if we could keep tapping into that and keep growing with him. But they didn't go that way. So it is what it is. But yeah, I wouldn't have minded that.
So there's two things that I want to ask you. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the 360 that is in here watching.
Ooh,
before we
you the
close
man, Todd. Look at you.
before we close it up, please make sure that y'all follow. Before I continue, please make sure you follow my guy Hector on X, man. I got his link in the description, so please give him a follow, man.
You're better than me. I don't even know my shit. But anyways,
the two things that I want to ask. The first thing that I want to ask you is Francisco Alvarez. Now that he's gone through his peaks and valleys up here, what do you think? What do you think we'll get out of him this year?
bounce back player of the year, baby. Comeback player of the year type year. I think Francisco Alvarez is gonna be fine, bro. I loved what I heard from him this weekend when he talked about what did he say? I need to be more selective or better, whatever the hell he said.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it because I don't remember the exact quote, but I thought Francisco Lindor last year first maybe focused too much on his defense the prior offseason and might have, unbeknownst to him, might have neglected his offense a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And then he had the wrist injury or thumb or whatever the hell it was, right? That also hurt him. Then, you know, the pressure. We know that there was maybe some outside voices, noises, whatever, trying to get him to focus on hitting home runs and power. So that we know that there was a little bit of a struggle there between what the team was telling him to do and what outside forces were telling him to do, and maybe he himself, you know, trying to find himself. Listen, I'm not gonna. I expect, and I think, I really believe. I posted it the other day when he made his comments. I believe in my heart this kid is gonna bounce back and give us that 20+ home runs that we expect. You know what I'm saying? While providing the leadership that he provides with the rotation and just on the team in general. He's the energy of that team too in a lot of ways. And a leader. I think they look to him too as a leader, especially the pitchers. So I expect a great year from Alvy. I really do.
Okay.
I think he'll bounce back nicely.
I do too. I agree. He has, like I said, I think he needed to go through the struggles that he went through last year to now come into this year and be like, all right, I know what I need to fix and I know what I need to do to be consistent, be a much better player than what we saw last year. I'm very, especially behind the plate. We were all saying, Leo, defensively, he needs to become better. He's letting a lot of balls get by. He's not covering balls in the front when they're spiking into the ground. Like he's struggled a lot defensively. I think we'll see a better peak with him defensively than what we saw last year. Junior Swingman is in the building, as we know. He says Alvy became an elite behind the plate is more important to me than his bat. I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. Here's my thing on why I would probably just slide to the bat just a little bit, because this is a guy that you already know that if he can find consistency with his offense, it's another power threat that you already have in that, where you don't even have to worry about the struggles. And, you know, he's probably going to be back in that 9th hole or that 8th hole and the 7th hole, depending on how Mendoza sees it or depending on his consistency and how quick he gets hot. But we talk about power on this team as much as we talk about anything else when it comes to the starting lineup and the offense. If he becomes a consistent hitter, making contact, not trying to do too much, not trying to overswing, and he stays on top of that ball and kills fastball like Vientos did last year, oh my goodness! You talk about Vientos. Him and Alvy are going to be a show. I'm looking at, like, you look at what Alvarez has done or it might do. I'm intrigued not only in that, but in what Vientos could do, because now this brother is like, wait, I just peaked out. Yeah, I saw I had no pressure in
Yo,
the play.
Top, I'm sorry to interrupt. People are talking about sophomore jinx. Like, that's the last thing I'm worried about. Like, yo, dude, you know how I've been with Mark Vientos. You saw how it was last year when they sent him down. I couldn't stand it. And every day, any chance I got, I was out there, you know, shouting, bring my guy Mark Vientos up here. When they called him up and he hit the home run, I went nuts. When they sent him down, I went nuts.
I remember.
You know what I'm saying, bro? I have the utmost confidence in Mark Vientos. You feel me? Now, I hope he's not focusing too much on his hair and his swag. You know, I had to throw that in there, Top. You know, I got to throw that in there.
Is going to be a monster.
But I like the last thing I'm worried about is Mark Vientos. Like, I think that kid is just ready, bro. That kid is ready to take over and be a force in this league, like on a regular basis. I don't think that shit was a fluke. Sophomore year, no. And listen, some people have said, "Oh, look at Alvarez hit 25 home runs and you see many guys." We were talking earlier about a guy like Spencer Torkelson who came up on the scene and was a highly touted dude, right? The first round and all of this stuff, got called up, had success, fell off, right? I don't expect none of that with Mark Vientos, bro. Right. I'm all in on Mark Vientos, straight up. I think he has the right temperament. I think, listen, let's go Mark Vientos, bro.
All day, every day, right? I can't wait for this kid. I bought his jersey, so that should tell you pretty much. This
there
kid, listen, I was one of them before the season started when they did that Q&A for David Stearns, and I was there. Shout out to Keith, shout out to Chris, shout out to Tone. And we were there, and they asked him. This was right before, I would say a week before they signed JD Martinez. Remember, we were still like, yo, they need a DH, they need a DH, they need a DH. And this is when the
not me. That's another thing, right? I guess last season, like when I look at the Pete Alonso situation, right? So that's another difference too, right? Last season when they were telling us, yo, we could go from within. We don't need to go out there and get a JD Martinez or anybody else. We believe in Mark Vientos. I was right there with him, like, yeah. I don't need no damn JD Martinez.
Yeah.
I could get what I'm gonna get out of JD Martinez from Mark Vientos. And I think we've seen that. JD served his purpose. JD served his purpose with the leadership and all that good stuff. Right? But we didn't need JD Martinez on the field. To be honest with you.
Right.
And that's the difference for me right now. Like when I look at, I don't see the viable replacement for Pete Alonso. I did see that with Mark Vientos. I did. So I was one of those that like, yeah, we don't need no damn DH. We got one.
I was.
Now, the only thing that upset me is that I'm like, damn, he's too young to just put him into a DH. You know what I'm saying? But
I mean, this is after that Q&A. I basically said, yo, I'm fine with them putting Brett Beatty at third as long as Mark Vientos is here as a DH. Or if you're not gonna have Beatty up here, then put Mark Vientos at third base. But the kid needs to play. It just so happens that a week after that Q&A, they signed JD Martinez, and I'm like, all right, now y'all gotta make a decision. Yeah, because the David Stearns said he's looking to move to keep that third base spot and that DH spot in the starting lineup for those two kids. Whether one is gonna play third base and the other is gonna be a DH, it's for them two. So then they signed JD Martinez, and then it's like, okay, so now what the hell are they gonna do? So once you started seeing Beatty struggle and they moved him down, they brought Vientos and he ended up catching fire. I was like, oh yeah, he's solidified. That's it. He's good. You won't see Brett Beatty anymore, in my opinion. So
right,
yeah, that's
and even when they signed JD, I was upset because I felt like, yo, keep Vientos on the team anyways. And even though I got it, like you're not gonna keep him on if you don't have him on the bench and stuff like that. But I was like, nah, keep him on the team anyways.
That's it. Yeah,
I'm looking forward.
My last question to you before we wrap up here, out of excluding Alvarez and Vientos, who is the one guy on the team that you're looking forward to watching the most?
Ooh, good question.
And actually exclude Juan Soto out of that as well, because we know what he can do.
You know what's funny? I already knew. I wasn't even thinking him. I was thinking, yeah. You know what? Just because I'm into listening to what these players say, and I recently watched Jose Siri. I like saying the names in Spanish, but we Latinos.
Siri.
Fuck that.
Jose
We
Siri.
Latinos. I'm intrigued by Jose Siri because in that interview he talked about how he needs. This has been the theme tonight. He needs to be more selective at the plate. His process at home plate needs to be better. He talked about what I said that Pete Alonso should do. And he's like, yo, I need to go up there and just see the ball, hit the ball. I need to go up there looking fastball and reacting to everything else. You know? So I'm looking forward to see him implement that. I'm looking forward to see, how the kind of effect that maybe a Juan Soto could have on him. He talked about, yo, I can't wait. This is what he said. If I don't learn from those guys, I really suck. Well, at first, if I don't learn going to the Mets, I really suck. And they were like, "What do you mean?" And they were like, "You see who's there?" He said, "If I don't learn from a Lindor, from a Juan Soto, and so on, so then he was like, what the hell am I doing?" He said, "My focus, my plan is to follow those guys around, whether they want me to or not, and just watch them hit." I love that mentality. So I'm interested to see if he can give us something more than just an occasional home run every now and then. We know the defense is going to be there. We've seen it in the Winter Bowl, so that's going to be fun too. And shout out to my guy Junior once again. I am also intrigued by how Edwin Diaz could bounce back as someone who's had the same exact surgery that Edwin Diaz had 2 times. I know that it takes time. And that first year, you just come back and you're just like, "Oh, I can do this." You know what I'm saying? And still subconsciously, you're still worried about how I move and this and that. And is any movement going to make this thing pop? So that's a good one. That's a good one, Junior. Yeah, I know. Junior says, "See, we looked rough at the plate in Escogido."
He did. He did. No, Junior knows. Junior knows. Yep, he did. He did. That's one of the things where I was like, fuck, man. But
yeah, but he talks about it because he's like, he's like, a lot of times, and it's funny because I heard Vladdy say this to a obviously Vladdy's so much better, but say this like at a different level where you'll sometimes, and they both brought up Soto in this, and how Soto is so good that he doesn't get out of his element, right?
Right.
You're not going to throw me a strike, I'm not going to swing. Where he's like, "Yo, I struggle sometimes. We're implementing the plan at the plate."
Mm-hmm.
You know, and going up there looking for this pitch, looking for that, and that's why he himself has talked about kind of like dumbing it down a little bit. So I'm intrigued by that, and I think hopefully with those guys around, better coaching, he could be better at that. He could implement that.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Me too. I think with a guy like I said, high energy, a power hitter, I think with the goals that in the interview, like you said, he wants to be more disciplined. I think he can do that a lot because he's got a lot of disciplined guys at the plate that he can learn from. The one guy, and shout out to the Schlaps from Queens Baseball, who brought up a name in terms of learning from guys on the team. There's one guy in particular that I think he can learn from the most in terms of trying to be better at the plate, trying to just be a better player, and that's Starling Marte. Starling Marte, he's on. Obviously, he was there with Escogido when they won the whole thing. But just conversations.
Marte was out there.
Yes, sir. When they did the trophy,
yeah, but he didn't waste no time.
He went straight over there. He didn't wait. He went straight over there. He actually has a photo of him on the field when they won.
Unbelievable, these fucking guys.
He didn't wait. But I think in terms of just the veteran presence, what Marte has been able to do in the league, and just sitting him down and be like, "Listen, in Tampa, you didn't really have that. I mean, you had Randy, you had Yandy, cool, but that was it. Now you have guys that are here that have done it, and that we all gel as a family." I think now that he's playing for a team of what they did last year, I know he knows about that. He's looked into that. There's so many things that Jose Siri can do that he really hasn't shown with his time in Houston and with his time in Tampa. And I think that says a lot. And then on top of that, he's just a defensive specialist at center field. Everybody talks about, they're not going to bring back Harrison Bader. I'm good with Jose Siri. Like, that's the thing, is Jose Siri is going to be in that lineup every day with a Tyrone Taylor, depending on how they move things. But I'm very excited. I'd rather Jose Siri and Tyrone Taylor than Harrison Bader and Tyrone Taylor.
Yeah, I'm thinking as you're speaking, I think we could call that an upgrade. I think that's an upgrade, but definitely probably more higher upside too, right? With Siri.
Defensively, because I mean, you could kind of say that Harrison Bader is a better hitter than Jose Siri, but I think for me, when Jose Siri in the 7, 8, or 9 slot, I don't really think that plays an alarming factor. I think he can develop some consistency down in the bottom of the lineup. I think that's the best part about it. And then you don't have to question his defense on the outfield. Let me see. He's a junior swingman says
Talk about Marte having gone out there. Hey, at least he came out though and didn't do the Soto and whatever.
Right,
Leave
right.
it alone, heck. Leave it alone, heck.
I gotta give him credit for that. But I'm excited for the season, man. I mean, obviously with Juan Soto being here, there's a lot of upside to the season. I think it's gonna be a super fun thing. And shout out to the team across the other side who keep, their fans keep saying, well, the Mets and the Yankees are not a rivalry. Well, I think Juan Soto just changed that narrative. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean it's a rivalry more amongst fans, right? Because they're in separate leagues and stuff like that, and there's been one Subway Series. So yeah, but for the fans, it's always going to be a rivalry. Some could try to downplay it or whatever.
Right.
And yeah, now you have that Soto fact. I can't wait, man. I can't wait to those games. I'm even going to go to Yankee Stadium. I got to make it to Yankee Stadium this year for at least one of those games.
Their opening day, we play Toronto, and I can't wait for his first at bat.
Well, yeah, that's going to be another thing. But another thing, though, Top, is we're not going to sneak up on nobody this year.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
We're not going to sneak up with nobody this year, so they better not come with this nonsense like they did last season. But I think I keep trying to tell myself, too, heck, you got to be more patient this year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, even though because I don't know, like we do content every day, right? Pretty much. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna react to what's going on. So when I'm upset about how this game played out, or how this week is going, how this series played out,
in the moment,
it doesn't mean you've given up or anything like that. Like, but some people, well, you didn't believe in the team either. You said the team sucked. Well, they did. At that time,
they did.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
So, but they're not gonna sneak up on nobody. You can't count on injuries. Hopefully, the last couple of years we've been good about injuries. Hopefully, that continues. Remember, there was a time where Ray Ramirez and those guys where we couldn't fucking stay out of the training room. Now, you have guys come back way before you would expect them to come back. Something that's been kind of ignored, and I forget. Good question, Junior.
Yep. I don't think honestly, I'll answer that as quick. I don't think he's back. And it's not because they don't want to bring him back. I just don't think – I think they're looking at it from a standpoint of, we have our guys here. And I think they want to stay with the young core. And then on top of that, unless Jose Iglesias – number one, he's a Boris client. So that should already tell you off the bat how this shit's going to go. The second thing is I don't see – where they'll bring him back and he's gonna be riding the dugout. He's gonna be riding the bench half the time. Because what I think is they want to go if Jeff McNeil is not playing second every day, they want to go within the young guys. Acuna needs that time, Ronnie needs that time, depending on how they string in spring training. But I think they're trying to if Jeff McNeil is that utility, the oldest guy playing that spot, then they're gonna go younger. So I don't see them bringing him back. If they do bring him back, then it's one of those things where they're.
You don't think he could be this year's Joey Wendell? Where like,
is that I think with Iglesias, he played so much last year that I don't think they want to bring him back here and he plays less games unless he's cool with that. Unless he's like, I just want to be back for the vibes and kind of be a veteran leadership.
Which I think he does. I actually think he does.
No, thank you. I would love him back. But I'm trying to look at it from a standpoint of they still got Ronnie coming back and they still got Acuna based off what.
Yeah, but let's be fair though. Let's be honest. Let's be fair. I don't think Ronnie's gonna be ready to go spring training. Like he would have to have the most outrageous spring training ever for them to say, he's ready. Like I'm pretty sure they're gonna want to get him at bats.
It could happen.
Like he missed a whole year of baseball.
No, right. Which is why I'm leaning more to the Acuna side. I see Acuna getting more time than him, but I can't ignore the Jeff McNeil shit. That's what I'm saying. So then you think about that, and now you're looking at it from a standpoint of where does Iglesias fit? Because you're not moving Vientos, and obviously if they get Pete back, you have Pete, and obviously you're not moving Lindor. Iglesias doesn't play the outfield, so you know what I'm saying? Unless he comes back and he's like, listen, if I play 1 or 2 games or maybe 3 or whatever, but I'm riding the dugout and I'm being the oh my god sign holder like Sevi was, I'm cool with that. You know what I'm saying? I'm cool with that. But if he wants to play, because obviously he's got Boris there and he's telling Boris like, no, I want to play. If I gotta take a 2-year deal to play, then fuck it. If I gotta take a 1-year deal, but I'm still playing, cool, that's cool. So remember, he wanted to leave. He wanted to retire at one point because he wasn't getting any offers. He was getting done dirty. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just
Right.
And now that the Mets gave him that opportunity, he was able to do what he was able to do because McNeil was hurt for most of that. It's like, unless you're ready.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say too. He played every day for a point there because of circumstance too, right? It's not like
So it's like now it's different if Acuna and if Acuna, like I put Acuna in that because to the Ronnie point, you're right. We don't know how that's gonna play, but to the Acuna situation, I think he has a lot of upside because of what he did when he was up here last year. You know what I'm saying? That's why this spring training is so important because it's like, all right, now you get a restart. Now you're starting here. Now you're starting to come up on the opening day roster. Unless your spring training is horrible to where we got to tell you, now you got to start in AAA to kind of get your groove back. I think if he has a great or a solid spring training, he'll be on the opening day roster. Now you're talking about McNeil and Acuna. It's like, where does Iglesias fit? Because both guys got to play. And again, I don't think you're going to treat Vientos as a utility guy and only play him a couple games and have McNeil play third and then have them switch. No, he's your third baseman unless otherwise, knock on wood, something negative happens.
No, I agree, I'm excited and I wanted for them to give Acuna a chance to win a job, and it looks like they're going to give Acuna a chance to win a job. Now, I was hoping that job, like this is what I was thinking about the offseason, what I would have tried to do, and again, I'm a McNeil guy, but given everything that's gone on, I would have tried to move Jeff McNeil. I recognize that I probably won't get the greatest value for him, but one of these reclamation project arms that we got, it could have been maybe through a trade. You know what I'm saying? Another bad contract or something, and I recognize you would have had to pick up some of maybe McNeil's contract or whatever, but that's what I would have done, and I would have definitely bring Iglesias back as what I've called it, a caddy for Acuna, who I would have gave a chance to win the second base job. That's ideally what I would have done. But obviously that's not what they've done. And I could understand why, I could understand if their thinking is, listen, I don't whatchamacallit, we're not gonna just anoint Acuna the second baseman. We're not gonna leave ourselves with no backup plan or whatever the case may be, because they could always trade McNeil. Shit, they could even trade McNeil during spring training if it came to that. You know what I'm saying? If they come into spring training and both Ronnie and Acuna are showing like, yo, we ready for this year, and maybe they'll say, you know what, let's make this move. So who the hell knows? But nah.
Yeah, anything could happen, man. But yo, I appreciate you coming in, man, and giving your blunt thoughts. Hopefully we get to link up at the game more and have a crazy year, because I can't wait to talk my shit. Now that we got nobody can stop
for
it.
Sure.
So, but I appreciate you, man. Thank you for joining. Shout out to the 380 that's watching here. Shout out to everybody in the chat that conversated with us. We appreciate y'all. But it's your guy David, and we out, man. I'll see you on the next video. Peace out.